it is a budget meeting. So we don't have an agenda per se. What we will be doing today is that we'll be given financial information provided by both Alex and Leanne. So can we just have a motion to open the budget meeting for today, April 15th?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Budge, seconded by?
I'll second that one.
I hear Councillor McGinnis, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Behind it. Motion is carried. So what we will do is that we will turn the meeting over to both Alex and Leanne and provide the information they feel is relevant right now during this particular time. So who's going to take over, Alex or Leanne?
I can start.
Yours.
Okay, so I did send out draft 3 of the budget. So can you guys all see that on your, those that are at a computer? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So this is it's based off the same budget from when we had that budget day, but we'll start with just what the changes have been made to it since then. So one change is that online, so I did put numbers on it. So if you're following along, we can reference by number. So on line 142, we added in a contribution for Victoria County Transit. So last year we got $60,000 from the province. This year they gave us $40,000 from the province. So we put in $20,000 for that difference. At this point, I don't know if that's enough, because I don't have all the financial details of the transit, if our contribution is going to need to be bigger for this year or not. But that's what we based that on. Then on line 213, there's another new, an addition to the budget, which is an increase for the IT project. So I think Leanne's been giving updates to council. We're working through that intermunicipal project related to IT and upgrades that we need, and working towards having a shared service model. And where we're at right now is that we are seeing that IT is really expensive. So we're still working through the more detailed numbers on that, but at this point, we put $50,000 in there for this IT project, which potentially could be low, but I think we'll just have to see where it all shakes out. We have a meeting with the other municipalities this Friday, and then we have a meeting with the consultants on next Wednesday to discuss further budget details on all that stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to firm up the number a bit more, but that is a change since our last meeting. And then the other addition, which actually has a negative impact, or a no impact to the bottom line, but there was that $10,000 funding we got for senior safety for the emergency funding. So that's been added in as a grant revenue, and then the offsetting $10,000 expense. So those are the big changes to what we presented last time. So the real reason the main reason to call this meeting is that where we left it last time, we were talking about a 2-cent increase. And I'm looking for feedback on where everyone's head is around that now, because I'm imagining how you felt then might not be how you feel right now.
Perhaps, Alex, just go through, ask each individual councillor, starting from District 1 through 8, what their thoughts about increasing the tax rate by 2 cents or not, and just see what their thoughts, and if it's a simply yes or no, we're happy with that. But perhaps that would be the way to go, and I'll let you take it through through the districts.
Sure.
Can I
Yep.
just jump in just for a second?
Mhm.
Can I, sorry, can I
Mhm.
just jump in so we had an AMAN's board meeting this morning. Halifax right now is in the process of laying off staff to try and stop the bleeding. But the comment that came from Way Mason, who was NSFM president up until the last AGM, his comment was, during a war, we don't reduce taxes, we raise them. So just throwing that out there, and I'm not saying we raise the taxes, I'm just saying I don't think a reduction in taxes is a good idea either. I'm okay with if we stayed where we were, but I don't think a reduction is. So just my 2 cents on that.
And I think also, before people start answering.
I had a couple of questions on that, Leanne. Not having experience with municipal, I guess, finances, can we run a deficit?
So currently we are not allowed to. There has been several meetings between AMANS, NSFM, and the province in trying to come up with a solution for this, because as we all know, cash is going to be tight in the next, who knows how long this is going to last. We have a real issue thinking that we're going to be able to clean or collect taxes. We're asked, there's nothing currently that, there's a few different options that are on the table, but like for instance, we don't qualify for the emergency response or emergency workers response benefit, because the feds and the provincial government think that, oh, well, you're going to get your money, so it shouldn't matter to you. But they obviously have no idea that when nobody's working, we're the last people that they're going to want to pay. So anything's on the table right now. So changing policy, they think that they might be able to do that where we could run a deficit. So the answer is, I'm not sure right now, Graham.
Okay, yeah, because I'm just referencing download. I was reading City of Vancouver is claiming they could go bankrupt.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, HRM is saying that too. Yep.
Are they? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I think those comments are being put out there because of the, to get the message out that municipalities can't run deficits and that there could be a lot of defaults on property tax, right, on the revenue side.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so can we go back to perhaps asking the individual councillors what their thoughts are about either leaving the tax rates as is, or would they prefer to see an increase as we had discussed earlier, 2 cents? So
And I was going to say, just as a reminder, since it was a little bit ago that we had that budget meeting, like the document that we're looking at, it does have surpluses at the bottom. So things, if you just look at that number, it looks fine. But if you remember that every year we've had $400,000 in capital expenses for public works. And this was a light year for capital requests from Public Works. So we have, I think, about 100,000 in this budget, where normally we would have, right, 125, where normally we would have over 400,000. So if we had a normal year of spending for capital public works, that's where we'd be looking at deficits. So just a reminder on that the surplus isn't actually as good as it looks. Okay, so then District 1, thoughts?
Yeah, well, my thoughts are like with provincial and federal governments giving like bridge funding to businesses and individuals right now, I think it would look bad if we would increase the taxes. But if we would increase the taxes, I wouldn't say 2 cents, maybe 1 cent. But in my opinion, which should stay as is right now.
So you're saying leave it with no increase?
right now, I'd say leave it at no increase, yeah.
Okay.
Because it would look bad, like if, like municipal wise, we're the only people that basically aren't giving money to people, and we're taking more money away from them.
Okay. District 2?
I have a question. So you're saying that 200,000, that we would take it off. We will have no surplus. So that will be, with not taking, will be minus something. And with 1 cent will be maybe 18,000 surplus around.
So if we had
You have 1 cent. So is the surplus suppose is 218, no?
for 1 cent is the surplus is 218.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we stay as is.
But are we going, yeah, as is. But if we take the reserve, it's not going to be a 218. It's going to be 18 average, 18,000. So my question is, what we can decide in the end of the day when we see what we're going to take off, or we're not going to make more corrections in the budget?
Yeah, Perla, actually, if you were, are you talking down at the very bottom there, like line 5?
Yeah.
539?
Yeah.
That would actually make it, with 1 cent increase, that would make it 418, not 18. So we'll go the opposite way. That's an expense.
Oh, okay. So you take it off, will be 218 surplus.
So that
Yeah, so all that's
200,000.
doing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
So that 200,000 every year, I think since Leanne started, she's been transferring 200,000 to our capital reserve because it had a very low balance,
Yep.
and we've been building that up. So we've continued to do that every year. So worst case, we wouldn't need to, but knowing that we do have capital projects coming up, especially when things get back to normal, we have things in the future that we've talked about doing. I don't know if I would take that away unless we absolutely needed to.
Oh, okay. I say, in my own opinion, 1 cent can make much difference for a bill in the tax for each people. I know it's just 1 cent, so I'm agreed to put it in at least 1 cent, not 2 cents. But because we have to think in the future, we're going to have more capital, and if we stay in just in the like we are with no surplus, we have to increase the next year more than 1 cent. So if we do in the middle, this is my opinion. No matter the provinces, the province will get some guidance about what they're going to do with the taxes right now, but for like a municipally speaking, I think we just leave. The people is referring his mortgage, is referring a lot of things right now. So if we give it as an advance and notify that it's going to be a cent, they have to make the budget for the year. My opinion.
Okay. District 3?
Yeah, I guess my opinion is we know we're going to lose money just because of what's happening right now. I kind of look at it from the point of view, I thought no increase. And then I thought financially, if we're going to take a bath financially, whether we increase it by 1 cent, the people that can afford to pay will pay. And the people that can't won't be paying anyway. So I would like to have a little bit of money because we don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know what the full impact is going to be. So I would be in favor of instead of going 2 cents, I would prefer to go 1. And that gives us a little bit of cushion. And I think it can be, it's a manageable increase. My thoughts.
Okay. District 4?
My opinion would be to go back where we were. I think it would look not favorable if we increased it by even 1 cent. So that's my vote. I say stay where we were.
Okay. District 5?
Thank you. Just a question, Alex.
Yep.
How much is in the capital reserve at present?
There is, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I can get it.
But
I think
but
it's
it's been
about
there.
1.4.
Yeah, okay. Just get a ballpark
Yeah,
figure.
it's over $1 million for sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of a cushion for us. I agree with Paul and Merrill. Like, I think we should stay the course. We're still going to have a surplus, hopefully. And, you know, as Paul made a good argument that we can't offer a lot financially to businesses or whatever, but we don't want to be seen as taking more away, I think. And then that's a good point, Paul. I agree with that. So I would say no change.
Okay. District 6?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm still on the same board there, saying no change. I think back to our unofficial conversation earlier where Fraser mentioned a certain telecommunication company going up by 7% in the public opinion. So I'm in that same boat, I'd say, at this time. You know, we may have to tighten our belt a little more in some certain areas, but I'd say keep it the same. And I think that sends a better message. And I think we do have the reserve to hopefully survive this. And we may have to adjust next year, but let's keep the same for this year. That's my vote.
Okay. District 7?
I don't think we should increase the rate. Stay what we were.
Okay. And District 8?
I'm going to say, I think we should probably say the same. I agree with all the other gentlemen on that.
I think we've heard, majority rules as usual. So I think you can establish whatever adjustments you have to make in the budget based on no increase.
Okay, so then I guess from that too, though, is something we should talk about is, are there, even though we're not doing an increase, are there areas we want to look into spending more money given the circumstances that we're in?
Correct. Yeah. So based on the things that are happening, that we know it's going to be a problem collecting. Does council have any thoughts or any direction on cutting of services or thoughts on other priorities and places to spend our money? So I'll give you a couple of examples. There was discussion on our call this morning. There's some municipalities that are looking at doing incentives to businesses. A lot of municipalities did not agree with it, but some are doing that to keep them afloat. Some have talked about doing an incentive or a cut in a tax rate to a certain industry to see if that's a way to help them out this year. And it's a one-time industry tax cut. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, are we cutting out festival funding? Like, are we still giving our $10,000 to Destination Cape Breton to have it turned into $48,000 for festivals? Are festivals even happening this year? Are we still doing our library funding? Like, libraries are not open any longer, but do we still have to leave our library funding where it's at? So I guess I'm just wondering if council has any thoughts on any of those things, like school funding. We're still funding 100% to those, even though schools are not open. I know the teachers are there, but the buildings are not.
Yeah, can I just make a quick comment on that? I'm not sure if it, I think perhaps you and Alex are going to have to take a look and look at those grants. But for example, the Cabot Trade Relay was canceled. That was $8,000 that traditionally we allocated to there. The libraries, I don't know, we still have to pay their rent. The schools are closed. Well, I think we really have to, I think you guys, in my opinion, would be perhaps the staff report back to us saying, these are legitimate ones that we should be paying, and these ones have either been canceled or we should reduce or not pay. And I don't think we can make that decision today based on the information that we have. I think that's a separate report.
Yeah, maybe we could just look at our grant program too. You know, the halls aren't open, so I mean, any funding we gave to community halls, it's just a thought. I mean, even if we adjusted the amount or whatever, if we had to, you know, I think those are some of the things. And then, as Bruce said earlier, it might, or Leanne said, just be a one-time thing, and we'd continue on in the future.
Here's my other just quick question with that, Leanne. Have you had any requests from anybody requesting any of these changes, either that we give them a break in their taxes, or, you know, has nobody has approached me. I'm not sure, I can't speak for any of the other councils, but I mean, if people aren't asking, they're not there yet, and should we offer it up until such times that it's been identified as an issue to some of these organizations?
Oh, it's starting. Dan has regular conversations with the tourism operators, and they're saying that outside of their mortgage payments, their property taxes are their second highest bill, and they don't know how they're going to pay it. So,
yeah.
I mean, the province is looking to see about helping with a line of credit or something along that line to keep municipalities afloat, and a repayment plan. Again, it's still in discussion stages. There's other discussion this afternoon between the province and the group that's dedicated to it, because we don't have the solution for it yet. So again, I guess we're just looking, before we do a staff report, is there a certain amount, or is there more that we're willing to put into COVID relief? Or like, let's say it's a one-time entry. Let's say we know we have a bit of a surplus on the bottom there. Is there a certain amount that council would like to see to help the areas in the municipality related to COVID? Is there something that we should be doing? We're looking for the province to do stuff, and we're looking to the feds to do things to help our residents, but where do we stand on that?
Well, I know Halifax, I think last night, came up with a deferred property tax collection.
Their bills usually go out the end of April, so
yeah.
They've deferred sending them out until June 1st.
The end of June 1st, yeah. So I mean, I guess when we were having that conversation, is that part of the conversation as well? Do we do both? Do we allocate some funding and we look at tax deferral as well?
Bruce, I think it depends on how far this goes, Bruce, because I know Mayor Clark was on last night from CBRM. Their bills were going out this week, so we're much later in August. So I think we have some time to see how things unfold, and if that becomes a necessary tool, I guess, we could look at it.
That's not actually true. Our bills go out in June, and they're due at the end of August.
Yeah, that's I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, Leanne, if you were looking at an amount that you would think that we could afford to put away for COVID, not to say that we're going to spend it, but as Fraser says, this could go on 6 weeks or it could go on 6 months. Either way, it would be nice to know that we had money put away if we had to provide some funding for COVID relief programs or whatever we wish to call it. So realistically, do you have a number in mind? And if you do, what is it?
I think our COVID number is that surplus number. I think it's 148,000.
One other thing we probably should discuss and think about is that we still have a call out for grant applications right now. That the deadline is the end of April. Like a few people have mentioned, some of those organizations aren't going forward, that usually aren't going forward with their events. So there might be an opportunity to, I don't know if we want to extend it or if we want to make it broader, that we accept applications for other things and see where that $200,000 gets allocated to.
I think we have to wait until, I don't know, we opened up for everybody. Let's go just have it there and think wisely how we're going to spend it in a good manner, not just give the money away. Maybe just business will be, that money will be just right now. Everybody I listen is they worry about the business, so not the residents is more this issue. So we can come up with something for them.
Yeah, and again, I keep saying this. I don't want to be the first to do something, but I also don't want to be the last. So I don't want to give incentives to our businesses, or I don't even know if we can. I don't think that we can at this point. But I'd like to have the option to be able to do that also, to do something, because based on what we're hearing, the industries that we have, they're not recovering this year.
No, I would agree with you. And I think if we can agree today to put that 148,000 in a reserve fund for COVID, I think we can agree on that today. I don't think we can agree on how we're going to spend it or who's going to be able to qualify for it. That's down the road a little ways, I think. But it probably is a good idea to allocate that funding for future use that need it.
I agree.
Agreed here too as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, and
Agree.
Great.
I think when we take a look at this and we know we have the money available, it's a Zoom meeting to decide what the criteria to access that funding is and who's going to be able to access it. But I agree that we have to have some criteria and we have to have some purpose for the use of that money, because although it sounds like a decent chunk of change across the municipality, it's not a lot of money. So,
No.
But yeah, I think if we can agree to put that money there, then let's do it, and we'll see what comes in the next couple of weeks as far as whether or not we need to offer some help to some businesses or industries or events.
Yeah, because I feel like our purpose on a go-forward basis is going to be to kickstart things again. So this might be the municipality's opportunity or priority to find a way to get people back on their feet.
Yeah.
Because currently a lot of businesses are not qualifying for any of the programs as they stand.
Right.
So the provincial and the federal programs, they are not qualifying because they didn't have any income on March 15th when this fell apart. They're making changes, and the federal government and the provincial government are looking for what criteria they need to have in there so they can make changes. They just haven't made them yet. So
you would think
again,
they're going to have to come up with something for seasonal businesses.
Right. Yeah.
Like one.
It's on the radar.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, and I feel like there could be some changes, let's say, to recreation programs. I don't know, and festival funding. There could be changes to all those things. We just don't know at this point. And I don't want to just leave it on those lines. I'd like to be able to use it on a different line if we have to. Like, I'd like to have a separate COVID line. So, and I think Alex has actually set one up, but I'd like to have a COVID line so we know how much is being spent on that, but there could be money taken from other areas if there has to be. to that line also. So I guess I'd look for the budget to be fluid. So maybe we'll look at it later on when this is over also to see if there's other money that needs to go to the COVID line as a Kickstarter. Or
And like
as
yeah, like I think right now, if the stuff, like Bruce said, you guys check about the festivals, and that is not going to happen. A lot of money there that we're just giving to the people, so that can go just to the COVID line, and then instead we're using that for business too, but will we go that way and stay in the same concept to another patients? No.
Is it difficult,
Yep.
Leanne, to do a calculation of what the cost of deferring for X number of months would be, deferring on payment of property tax?
No, so the province is doing that right now. So we've sent our information on to the province. We have an overall ask for the province of Nova Scotia, which is about 380 million right now. Half of that is Halifax, 40 million is CBRM, and the rest is coming from all the other municipalities.
Mhm.
So it is being asked and thought of. So
Sure.
our deferral based on the approximates, the money we'd be looking for is about 3.4 million,
Okay.
which is about 34% of our budget, 30 to 34%.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So just to clarify, that 3.4 million, that is money that's deferred. That means that we could allow people to defer paying their taxes. We would get more or less a line of credit or an amount from the province to allow us to do that. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's yeah, that seems to be the
Yeah.
not that has the most administrative burden, but that is the fairest for most. So the province would allow us to borrow or would lend to us, and whoever took advantage of this program, whichever residents and commercial businesses took advantage of this program, I think they're looking at a 2-year repayment term. And the interest that would be charged would also be allocated back to those taxpayers as well, because it's not fair to give that to others who are paying it. So administratively, it would be very cumbersome, but we're looking at doing something administratively overall for the whole province for that as well. So it may not affect us to our bottom line, but it would affect our residents. Another deferral of a payment.
Okay. Hmm.
And I just wanted to make that point because some people have the idea that a deferral is indefinite. Well, in actual fact, it has to be paid back within 2 years, and it's just reassigning a debt. It's not a grant. It's not a long-term loan.
Correct.
Exactly, and we have to be very clear when that gets rolled out.
And the interest accumulates, presumably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, the interest would be charged as part of their repayment of the over their term. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I
That's
ask
one
a
of the
question?
options. Yep.
Okay, you say the 3.4 million, if the province say yes, go ahead. That money, that is the total of the tax of the county. Yes?
That's 34% of the taxes. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So if the province, it's just a crazy idea. So if the province gives us a referral for 3.4 million, that means all the taxes of the county. And you say it will be like we have to repay it in 2 years?
No, so it would be a break to the taxpayers, so to the residents and the commercial taxpayers.
Yeah. My question is, what happened? It's a crazy idea. If we told the residents, if the province is going to give us that referral, it's to tell them we pay the tax, it's a crazy one, no, but we pay them, we pay the taxes for this year to the people to don't be worry about the taxes, because the promises give us a referral for 6 months. And instead, and here we charge how can I say, the people will just pay the interest of that loan for 3.4. You know what I mean?
So I don't think we can do that. I don't think we're allowed to
No.
pay people's taxes for them.
Well, let me put another question on, I thought this is where Perla was going. So if at the end of that 2-year period, the property owner doesn't pay that amount, so you write off the loan, that presumably becomes a default to us, right, on the property tax?
Correct. So then you run into, then you're in the tax sale system. So
Okay.
as soon as you default on a payment,
Yeah.
you are in the tax sale system.
Okay.
It's probably impossible to not do that because the loan's to the person, but the taxes are to the property. Right? Like that's messy.
The loan, so the loan is to the county.
But a person would have to apply for a loan?
Yes.
So the
They would
loan,
have,
the
well,
loan
no,
is to the
no.
person?
No, the person would apply to be part of the repayment program. So the county takes the applications from the taxpayer, and then based on the number that is being asked for them, we then will we borrow from the province or whoever the province is allowing us to borrow from. And then we, or somebody administratively tracks the repayments from the taxpayer. And then we give lump sums back on the line of credit. So it's all administered through the municipality.
But I guess my point is that there's no way for it not to go to tax sale.
Well, they don't go to tax sale. So I think this is a special circumstance that because you have 2 years to pay back this year's taxes.
Oh, sure. I mean, if you default,
if you default,
it has to go through the tax sale process.
Correct. Yeah. So I think it's even a special interest rate that they're looking to put on this. So it's like the cost of borrowing or something that makes you want to pay it, which seems to be higher than lower to make you want to pay it. But as soon as you default on any of your payments, you're kicked out of the program and you go to the regular program.
Okay.
So it's one of the scenarios that is being looked at to help municipalities.
Is there a timeline for any of that stuff that's with the province right now?
Yeah, they're hoping to hear back by the end of the week. But we've been at this for, what week are we in? 4? We've been at this for 3 weeks now. So
Right.
So I
just
guess the question is, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I think I'm good. Same thing. We're gonna go back to the budget and the amount allocated for COVID. So you're looking for the 148,000. Plus we'll review, if I understand other people's thoughts, then we will review the grant application process. I'm not sure about extending it because if we have the date of April 30th, then at least we know what's been applied for. We know how much of that has been asked for. So.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like, I know we're early in this year, but I think it's just sort of a write-off already. Like, people don't want to go to festivals. They don't want to go out to things because they're just scared this year. So we may be able to save on our own anyway from not funding some of those things.
Yeah, I just think the requests won't be there, and if they are there, we wouldn't be sending money to an event that's not going to be held. So, we're going to be able to save some of that money by default,
Right.
right?
But on the other side, we want to be able to have something open to give it out as to kickstart somehow.
I think there's a difference between the relay is canceled, but in October, Celtic Colors may need more money than we normally give them just to generate confidence in the event.
Maybe, yeah.
That's I'm kind of trying to follow your reasoning, and that's
Yeah.
the way I would kind of.
Yeah. Right.
And
like Kitchen Fest is probably next on the block. Kitchen Fest is probably not happening next $10,000.
It's a June event, and it's not going to happen. Yeah, I think we just kind of take a look at that.
Right now, Kitchen Fest is postponed to September, but that's up in the air too. I mean,
With the ones that do apply for something that's in the future, we probably should be prepared to say that if your event doesn't take place, then we want our money back.
Exactly. Yeah. Or we don't give it until the event has happened.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's going to be a fairly. We're going to have to leave that up. That's a discretionary line, in my opinion, because we don't know from day to day how many of those events are going to be canceled as we move forward. So would it be just reasonable to leave the amount of money that's been allocated for those grants for now? And if those events are canceled, can we take that money that was allocated to an event that's been canceled and put it over into the COVID money, for example? Could we do something like that?
Right. I think I feel that the motion should be that we save where we can, and any surplus is redirected to COVID programs.
Well, I think there's. Do you want to make it one motion, or is it two? We want to do something with that $148,000 surplus. Do we make a motion to allocate that to COVID emergency funding, for example?
Perhaps you don't have to do that because your budget hasn't been approved yet. So I think it might just be moving the line.
And also, that 148 isn't necessarily 148. Like some of our mandatory contributions haven't been told to us yet. So like the school board hasn't told us what our mandatory contribution is. So that number could go up by 5,000, down by 5,000. So I don't know if we want to get tied to the 148.
Just whatever the surplus is goes to COVID-19. And that can change no matter what with the grant funding and everything. If we could get more of a surplus, no matter what.
So the motion should be then that any surplus generated by the municipality this fiscal year would be allocated to COVID funding, emergency funding. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what you want, Leanne? Is that what you're looking for?
That's what I feel is the right thing to do. Yes.
And we just leave surplus as the generic term, because surplus could be surplus from the grant funding. It could be, as Alex said, maybe our police costs go down. We get $5,000 less. What we have to pay is $5,000 less. So there's a surplus there. So or would we just say the accumulated surpluses in the municipality go to?
Not the accumulated.
No.
Okay. What would be just the annual surplus? The surplus.
Paul has his hand up.
Okay.
Alex, can you unshare the screen so we could see the hands up?
Yeah.
Please. Thank you.
Yeah. Has there been many applications for the grants this year?
Nope. There's 5 or 6 in so far. Oh,
Yeah, I know, I know.
And
And
on-
and the deadline is when now?
April 30th.
April 30th, okay.
We should get a reminder out there because I mean, it's buried under our daily COVID posts. Like I'm sure it feels like so long ago. No one remembers that it's even a thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see it as a bad thing if we receive less than normal, because that whatever we don't use is going to go to potentially COVID programs anyway.
But then we're going to have to be very strict that the people that didn't get their applications in, like just using Kitchen Fest as an example, if they come in August and say, I didn't apply in April, but now we're going forward, can I have some money?
Yeah,
Great
but
point.
you know, but my answer to this is, it's like, this has been a different year. You know, we know, I guess I would say to somebody like that, like our priority right now is this COVID. It's not community grants. And if you didn't apply it when you were supposed to, it makes it a double issue, you know, and there's always ones that come out side of that, I know, but for the most part, you know,
But like, you know, for a fact, Bruce, that won't happen. People, if this changes in the fall, everybody will be coming in the fall for presentations and we'll end up giving them the money. That's basically what'll happen. I know.
potentially, that definitely, I understand that. I do think there'll be a number of events like the relay, for example, that can't happen once they're canceled. So I agree with you, and we're always in that pressure to allocate funds when we say we're not. And you know, particularly if it's a good project, the one that we've sponsored for a number of years that generates income in the municipality. But don't lose sight of the fact that this is going to be different. We're going to have to put money into this COVID program, and it's got to come from somewhere. It's at the cost of something. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish I had an answer to that, and I don't. I know what you're saying. We could get 10 requests. We could get 0. And maybe there's an expectation is that the municipality allocated this money there, and we just have to live with it. I don't know. So where are we on this motion? We need a motion to say that our surplus will now be a budget line for COVID emergency funding.
I don't believe so. You haven't passed a motion to pass the budget yet. We're still in budget discussion. So I don't think you need a motion on that yet, because I think the only motion is that we will approve the budget.
I'm sorry, that we what?
Yeah.
That we approve the budget whenever we have a final draft of it. I don't think we need a motion from this meeting today.
Oh, I thought you had asked for a motion to dedicate that surplus to.
I guess I
COVID.
did. Yeah, I did, but now I'm going back on that. Yeah, I was wrong there.
No, as long as we're together on that.
Is that recorded?
Yes.
So we probably don't have to pass the budget until
No,
our
and we're
May
not.
council.
It's nice to pass it early, but given the circumstances, I just don't see that there's any immediacy to passing the budget today for sure.
Right. And so I feel like, yeah, I feel like this is heading in the right direction.
Okay, so from our perspective today, at least so we don't go back. So we have more or less been advised by the information you guys have given us and the direction from councilors and Graham would be that we prepare to allocate funds for COVID funding, correct? That's just an understanding motion. The second is that we take a look at those, at the grant applications, both for the amounts that have been, the applications that have been received. And I guess we have to more or less kind of prioritize some of those because if some of them have been canceled, we're not going to be allocating any money. And we have to take a look at that because that's that's kind of an ongoing process because these events are going to be canceled as time goes on if this continues under a state of emergency. Right?
Correct, but just realize that not all of your grant money goes to events. So if it is for doing over the Legion Hall or something along that line, then those things still need to happen. But I just think we may have to look at a different type of funding too. I think we have to look at a funding that finds those businesses or those organizations that fall through the cracks. And those are the ones possibly where the municipality has to pick up the slack, where the feds in the province just didn't do that or didn't get there.
So how do we do that?
Oh, I don't think we know yet.
Okay. Like that to me would be the entry point for any of these grants is through Alex. So that to me would be, she would be the one that would be looking at and assessing these for whether or not they would receive special consideration, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
But I'm sure
Yeah, and
Dan, I'm sure Dan is going to have a lot to say depending on where the provincial and federal announcements go.
Exactly.
Related to tourism, he's going to have a ton of input, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess the way I look at that is that's an administrative exercise at this point. And I guess my question would be for the other councillors, are we okay with kind of dedicating our staff to take the lead in that process?
Yeah, and could I just suggest too
Yeah.
that maybe someone have a conversation with Patrick about this, because he's involved with all the businesses and, you know, knows them and they know him. So I think he should be included, Alex, in any discussions you have.
To include Patrick, is that, did I hear that correctly?
Well, yeah, you know, I think he should be in the loop kind of
Yeah.
thing, because he,
No, I agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't hear you, Fraser. I just
Oh,
wanted to
sorry.
make sure. No problem. So I guess that would be the direction for council, that we leave that with Leanne and Alex and Patrick and Dan and those that are involved with the grant process. And they're going to have, and what I would prefer, I guess my suggestion would be, is that as we work through this process, just keep council advised of the direction you're going and what grants you're looking at. I still think those grants would probably have to receive approval from to release the funds in a package anyway, correct?
What do you mean?
Well, if we allocate, if you come up with a list of grants that we're going to give, based on these new considerations, will that have to go back to council, or are you just going to disperse the money? Like, how will we know who and why you're dispersing the money to?
My thought is that council will be involved in helping set the criteria for it and approving the criteria, and then letting administration do what they have to do related to. And then the list will be public. I think we put our list of our grant recipients online.
Are we okay with that, folks?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
We all in favor?
Yeah.
Not a motion, with just an agreement for direction for staff. Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah.
And when somebody, I'm assuming, is keeping notes somewhere on this meeting, so that when we know what the 4 or 5 directives that we agree on, that they are written somewhere, so that we have it captured for the minutes, so to speak.
Yeah, it's being recorded.
Great. Anything else?
I have a question about Public Works didn't change the budget around this emergency, and we won't have any surprises, or we have to put money aside, or that's another one.
So
do you know anything about Public Works?
One thing with Public Works, I mean, We have a skeleton staff right now, so there will be some changes depending on how long this goes on. I mean, it could be significant, or I just don't know when people are going to be back.
They
at work.
don't, yeah, no, not referring to the staff, like I don't know, after all this, the pandemic finish, or in the meantime, if, I don't know, they would have to have more prevention, like we have to wait, spend more money in that. You don't know, no, I don't know, Robert, don't feel like he give you the numbers, that's fine for him for this year?
I haven't heard otherwise, and I mean, Leanne can answer, but I haven't heard him bring anything up on our daily calls to indicate that his spending should change that much.
Okay.
I mean, I can run it by him again for sure as we get closer to the final draft, but
Okay.
As of right now, I don't think anything would be significant enough to make a change.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Paul, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, in the budget now, was the increase for the fire departments put in there, Alex? Remember at the last meeting, we discussed an increase for the fire department?
Yeah, it is in there.
It is in there?
Yeah, we changed it. I changed it live during the budget meeting. So
okay.
I think we said 10. We did 10%, I think. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 10%.
Yeah, I thought it was something like 10. I thought it was something like 10%. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we also did the usual was the 240, and we reduced it to 200 and put the $40,000 for an equipment fund. So that's in there, and I didn't change that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments? So is there any additional information that Alex or Leanne needs from us this afternoon?
I think I'm good. That was all the stuff I had that I wanted to cover.
Yeah, we don't know, just the last piece, we're still waiting to hear back from the union related to if they are accepting our changes. They were just going to, I think, have a meeting mid-March, and then everything blew up. So we don't know if that will be passed, but I think that they were having a Zoom call to discuss, I believe. So we should be hearing back in the next little bit, but we have not heard back yet.
Okay, and we have a regularly scheduled council meeting next Monday. So is there anything else this afternoon before we sign off?
No, thank you. Good work.
Very good. I hope we gave you some direction and you're clear on what the direction we're going.
As clear as we can be in the middle of a pandemic, yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, you'll have to recheck all of Leanne's work now, since she does make mistakes.
Guys, got one comment.
This is all Alex. This is all Alex. I'm sure it's correct. Yeah, now I've admitted it. That was the worst part, was admitting it. Yeah.
I'll edit that part out of the video. Don't worry about it.
Thanks.
Hey guys, one comment.
What's that?
Just want to make a comment. I just want to wish a happy birthday to Councillor McDonald, who seems to be hiding that fact. So just want to make sure everyone's very much aware.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday. What are you, Norm? 60?
61, buddy, today.
Did you see the meme, Norm? Norm, did you see the meme for everyone with an April birthday? Everybody's all slumped over. And
Fire's house, yeah.
Have a good one, Norm.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Anything else before we sign off? There's no secrets on Zoom, Norm.
I was wondering if, would it be beneficial for us to join in on that broadband, or if we wait for a direction from you when you do it, or to do it with that?
I think anybody
Anybody, I think all the counselors can join in as far as I know.
Did you
All right.
get an email on it, Norm? Norman, did you get an email on it?
I did. I just didn't know if we just wait for direction from Larry or Paul to come back.
Oh, no.
Definitely go on it.
Go in on it if
more the
you're
better.
able to, yeah.
Yeah, you have to pre-register.
Okay.
Are you going to be on it, Paul?
What's that?
They
What's
just
that?
sent an email a few minutes ago, I think, too. I
Yeah,
didn't look at it yet, but I
it's
can
just a
look at my screen.
confirmation. It's just a
Is that what it is,
confirmation
Paul?
starting.
You're joining in, Paul, are you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Oh, could you ask them to bring longer strings and bigger cans for this area? Because,
Okay, I will.
huh?
Yeah,
Send Fred and Barney down. They might be able to help.
yeah, okay.
Okay,
You
thank
got
you.
a pole in front of your place, Merrill? You got a pole in front of your place, a power pole? Get a ladder. Remember Green Acres? You used to climb up the pole to talk on the phone?
I'm tempted to do that, yeah. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, listen,
Not
I'm looking at a pretty neat site here. Not to change the subject, but I'm looking out and there's about 40 robins in the lawn in front of the house. Is it ever neat looking? So the spring is coming.
Spring is coming.
Great.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
About 40
so
of them down there.
sign off then, unless there's any very final comments, and we'll reconvene again at 3 o'clock for those that are signing in on the bell.
Yeah, and I just read, Bruce, the only reason why Toronto, or Larry, the only reason why Toronto won the cup in 1919 was that everybody else didn't have a team.
I think he was on mute there. I don't think anybody got that. I think he was on mute, so I'm gonna keep it that way.
You may as well. All right. Thanks a lot. We'll be talking to most
That's
of you
good.
later
Thanks,
on.
guys. Have a good one.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.